Hello, everybody. Welcome to a daily dose of the Bible. We are reading Mark, second book of the Gospels. Mark 14 is the chapter we're on. In 13, Jesus was foretelling the future, so he talked about signs of the end and told us that he doesn't even know when it really is. It's coming, and some of the signs, wars, rumors of war, earthquakes and famines, and those are all birthing pains that we can know it's coming soon, that it's even at the door, but no one knows the time. So the main lesson in that one is, I guess, don't be like at the end of the chapter he talked about master leaves and his slaves are given these jobs to do, and when he comes back, they don't want to be sleeping. They want to be doing their jobs. They want to have done their job and be on to the next thing, or they don't want to be caught lying down on the job. Neither should we. So 14 Mark 14 starts with Jesus anointed at Bethany. It was now 2 days before Passover and the festival of unleavened bread. The leading priests and teachers of religious law were still looking for an opportunity to capture Jesus and secretly kill him. But not during the Passover celebration, they agreed. The people may riot. Meanwhile, Jesus was in Bethany at the home of Simon, a man who had previously had leprosy. While he was eating, a woman came with a beautiful alabaster jar of expensive perfume from essence of nard. She broke the jar and poured the perfume over his head. Some of those at the table were indignant. "Why waste such expensive perfume?" they asked. "It could have been sold for a year's wages and the money given to the poor." So they scolded her harshly. But Jesus replied, "Leave her alone. Why criticize her for doing such a good thing to me? You will always have the poor among you, and you can help them whenever you want, but you will not always have me. She has done what she could and has anointed my body for burial ahead of time. I tell you the truth, wherever the good news is preached throughout the world, this woman's deed will be remembered and discussed." And that's true. Here it is. We're discussing it and remembering it right now. Some people think maybe it was Mary Magdalene. I'm checking my notes quick to see if it says. No, it doesn't say anything about that. But people thought maybe it was Mary Magdalene. Maybe she was a former prostitute who Jesus had healed, and I don't know. There's a lot of wondering as to why they were, some of the disciples were, "Oh, how dare she? That's a lot of money she's wasting." But Jesus puts it pretty bluntly when he says, "She's anointed my body for burial ahead of time." Excuse me again. I don't know if any of them still really had any idea what the truth was, what was really going to happen. But the next section is called Judas agrees to betray Jesus, so he might have been one of the complainers. Then Judas Iscariot, one of the 12 disciples, went to the leading priests to arrange to betray Jesus to them. They were delighted when they heard why he had come, and they promised to give him money. So he began looking for an opportunity to betray Jesus. And a lot of people, think of Judas as an evil man, think he's some kind of horrible jerk for doing that, which is all true. It's horrible and awful to think of, betraying your best friend, your teacher, your leader. You've seen him heal so many people. You've known he's the Son of God, and yet that 30 pieces of silver just sounds so good. Oh, the things you could buy. Not your eternal soul back, Judas. But without Judas, God's plan would not be carried out. He was integral. Someone had to betray Jesus and turn him over. That's just the truth, Whether whatever happened to Judas afterwards, I don't know. I kind of hope that he, saw the light of his ways before he offed himself. A lot of people, that's kind of how the story goes. He kills himself after Jesus dies or is arrested. Excuse me. Just he's looking for an opportunity to betray him. And, many of us are not much better, so we don't have a lot of place to talk. The Last Supper. On the first day of the festival of unleavened bread, when the Passover lamb was sacrificed, Jesus' disciples asked him, "Where do you want us to go to prepare a Passover meal for you?" So Jesus sent them into Jerusalem, 2 of them into Jerusalem, with these instructions. "As you go into the city, a man carrying a pitcher of water will meet you. Follow him. At the house he enters, say to the owner, 'The teacher asks, where is the guest room where I can eat my Passover meal with my disciples?' He will take you upstairs to a large room that is already set up. That is where you should prepare our meal." So the 2 disciples went into the city and found everything just as Jesus had said, and they prepared the Passover meal there. In the evening, Jesus arrived with the disciples. As they were at the table eating, Jesus said, "I tell you the truth, one of you eating with me here will betray me." Greatly distressed, each one in turn asked, "Am I the one?" He replied, "It is the one of the 12 who is eating from the bowl with me. For the Son of Man must die, as the Scriptures declared long ago. But how terrible it will be for the one who betrays him. It would be far better for that man to have never been born." As they were eating, Jesus took some bread, blessed it. Then he broke its pieces and gave it to the disciples, saying, "Take it, for this is my body." And he took a cup of wine and gave it to the disciples. He took a cup of wine and gave thanks to God for it. He gave it to them, and they drank from it. And he said to them, "This is my blood, which confirms the covenant between God and his people. It is poured out as a sacrifice for many. I tell you the truth, I will not drink wine again until the day I drink new in the kingdom of God." They sang a hymn and went out to the Mount of Olives. So that tells us, well, how amazing would it be for him to say, just go into the city. There's going to be a dude with a pitcher. Surprise, his master's already set us up a whole table. So they go and they find that to be true. And that's pretty amazing. And then, there they are having their dinner, and Jesus calls somebody out. Judas obviously must just be feeling horrible. And Kitty, I don't know what's his problem. And, he just says, "It's going to be better for you to have never been born, Judas. I know who you are, but I'm not going to call you out right now, Somebody sitting right here is going to betray me." It'd be a really uncomfortable dinner. But he knows what's happening. He knows where he's headed, and he knows how it's going to go, I guess, because just the mere fact that he was, someone had already prepared a place for him and his 12 followers to have dinner, that he knew where to find that guy, that he knew someone right there was going to betray him. And, he is God, and so he knows all that God knows, I guess. The next next part is Jesus predicts Peter's denial. On the way, Jesus told them, "All of you will desert me, for the Scriptures say, God will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered. But after I'm raised from the dead, I will go ahead of you to Galilee, and meet you there." Peter said to him, "Even if everyone else deserts you, I never will." Jesus replied, "I tell you the truth, Peter. This very night, before the rooster crows twice, you will deny 3 times that you even know me." "No," Peter declared emphatically. "Even if I have to die with you, I will never deny you." All of the others vowed the same. And as we will see later, you might already have heard, Jesus is right. Surprise. It's just amazing, you know. It'd be so crazy to hear these things from him before they happen, and it would be such a verification, you know. And I think that's part of what he's doing is, you know, after he's arrested, he's not going to have a chance to talk to Peter anymore. You know, not in the way they have, not in that earthly fellowship of man to man. Peter's going to have to, you know, have something to call him back. So after that denial, he's going to probably, you know, realize that Jesus was right. That's coming up at the end of this chapter, actually. But, you know, it would be such a verification for him to tell you things before they happen. And I think he does that to show them his true nature, you know, so they really, really know. And he sometimes does the same thing for us, you know. Sometimes he will give us a little warning or a twinge inside of our spirit, like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't go there. Something is not right about this situation. And, you know, when it's from him, it's important to follow. Jeepers, sorry about that. Jesus prays in Gethsemane. They went to the olive grove called Gethsemane, and Jesus said, "Stay here while I go and pray." He took Peter, James, and John with him, and he became deeply troubled and distressed. He told them, "My soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." He went on a little farther and fell to the ground. He prayed that, if it were possible, the awful hour awaiting him might pass by. "Abba, Father," he cried out, "everything is possible for you. Please take this cup of suffering away from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine." Then he returned and found the disciples asleep. He said to Peter, "Simon, are you asleep? Couldn't you watch with me for 1 hour? Keep watch and pray so that you will not give in to temptation, for the spirit is willing, but the body is weak." Then Jesus left them again and prayed the same prayer as before. When he returned to them again, he found them again sleeping, for they couldn't keep their eyes open, and they didn't know what to say. When he returned to them the third time, he said, "Go ahead and sleep. Have your rest. But no, the time has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Up, let's be going. Look, my betrayer is here." This part always makes me cry. I can't. It's hard to talk about, you know. He knows what's going to happen. He's pained and crushed. He's terrified, really, even though I don't know if that's possible, but, you know, as a person, he's scared of what's coming. He doesn't know what it's going to be like to die for real. You know, I mean, he knows a lot of things, but he's never felt real, you know, people death. Of course, it's not actually death for him, but he's never, you know, it's one of those many things that he's never done as a person before he came here. And just the silly disciples, you know. I wish they would have prayed with him and comforted him in that way. And just been there with him for support. So, look, here is his betrayer. Jesus is betrayed and arrested. And immediately, even as Jesus said this, Judas, one of the 12 disciples, arrived with a crowd of men armed with swords and clubs. They had been sent by the leading priests, the teachers of religious law, and the elders. The traitor Judas had given them a prearranged signal. "You will know which one to arrest when I greet him with a kiss. Then you can take him away under guard." As soon as they arrived, Judas walked up to Jesus. "Rabbi," he exclaimed, and gave him a kiss. Then the others grabbed Jesus and arrested him. But one of the men with Jesus pulled out his sword and struck the priest's slave, slashing his ear off. Jesus asked them, "Am I some dangerous revolutionary that you come with swords and clubs to arrest me? Why didn't you arrest me in the temple? I was there among you teaching every day. But these things are happening to fulfill the scriptures, what the scriptures say about me. Then all his disciples deserted him and ran away. One young man, following behind, was clothed only in a long linen shirt. When the mob tried to grab him, he slipped out of his shirt and ran away naked. Some people think that might be Mark talking about himself. But, you know, somebody was roused from his sleep and he was only in his sleeping shirt, and when they tried to grab him, he slipped out of his clothes and ran away naked. And Jesus is like a lamb marching to his slaughter now. He knows what's going to happen. I wonder where we get the part about Jesus healing the ear back on. I thought that was real, you know. I thought that was in one of these. Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, I suppose, does say that. This is this hard part to read, you know. It fills me with, well, you know, when you put yourself really in that situation, when you've read all the great things he's done and how they've plotted and tried to, you know, it's just they're afraid of his authority. They're afraid of the new way. And they are going to kill him. Now he's before the council. They took Jesus to the high priest's home, where the leading priests, the elders, and the teachers of religious law had gathered. Obviously, they had a plan for this to be going. It's not like it was just, you know, that somebody didn't, like, text everybody, hey, come to the church. It was, you know, they had to have plans. And this is the end of their great design here. Oh, goodness. Okay. Meanwhile, Peter followed him at a distance and went right into the priest's courtyard. There he sat with the guards, warming himself by the fire. Inside, the leading priests and the entire high council were trying to find evidence against Jesus so they could put him to death. But they couldn't find any. Many false witnesses spoke against him, but they contradicted each other. Finally, some men stood up and gave this false testimony. We heard him say, I will destroy the temple made with human hands, and in 3 days I will build another made without human hands. But even they didn't get their story straight. Then the high priest stood up before the others and asked Jesus, well, aren't you going to answer these charges? Oh, good grief. What do you have to say for yourself? But Jesus was silent and made no reply. Then the high priest asked him, are you the Messiah, Son of the Blessed One? Jesus said, I am, and you will see the Son of Man seated in the place of power at God's right hand, and coming on the clouds of heaven. Then the priest tore his clothing to show his horror and said, why do we need another witness? We have all heard this blasphemy. What is your verdict? Guilty, they all cried. He deserves to die. Then some of them began to spit on him, and they blindfolded him and beat him with their fists. Prophesy to us, they jeered, and the guards slapped him as they took him away. That's our Jesus right there, you know. He's going through that for us. The humiliation, the sorrow of these people. You know, he loves them still as they're beating him and shaming him and speaking against him. That's Jesus for you, you know. He's turning the other cheek, and the other, and the other, and the other. And he's not gonna... He has no need to defend himself. And this is actually the plan, and this is how it's supposed to go. Oh. So, the last part of this chapter is Peter denying Jesus. Meanwhile, Peter was in the courtyard below. One of the servant girls who worked for the high priest came by and noticed Peter warming himself by the fire. She looked at him closely and said, "You're one of those with Jesus of Nazareth." But Peter denied it. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. And he went out into the entryway. Just then, a rooster crowed. When the servant girl saw him standing there, she began telling others, "This man is definitely one of them." But Peter denied it again. A little later, some of the bystanders confronted Peter and said, "You must be one of them, because you are a Galilean." Peter swore, "A curse on me if I'm lying. I don't know this man you're talking about." And immediately the rooster crowed a second time. Suddenly Jesus' words flashed through Peter's mind. "Before the rooster crows twice, you will deny me 3 times that you even know me." And he broke down and wept. And that's the prediction that Jesus had made. That's the way that Peter was, kind of brought back. I don't know why he didn't, be like, yeah, I'm with him, and that's my guy, and I'm going to stand right there with him and stand up for him, and I've seen him do stuff, and I know that he's, I don't know why the disciples didn't defend Jesus other than just fear for their own lives. Honestly, that's probably, they didn't want to get killed like they figured he would be doing. So this is a hard thing to accept in our human history. It's a hard thing to think of, we would have done the same thing. I don't know that it would be any different for any of us. Someone comes in and says these new things and does these crazy miracles, and, would we be skeptical? Would we disbelieve? I think that that's part of the human condition in a way, to think that we can understand everything, and what we don't understand, there's something wrong with it. But he is a supernatural God, and he did know what was going to happen, and he does plan on going willingly whatever his Father asks him to do. And that's what we should do as well. Even unto death. We should be willing to sacrifice this goofy earthly life. If he asks us, we should willingly give whatever he asks, because this is, this is a precursor. Heaven is going to be wonderful. And I just pray that you'll, see that as that's the end of the race. Heaven someday. We'll all be together with him. And we will know the answers to all of those questions. And, we'll see Judas or we won't. We'll shake Peter's hand, and it's all going to be making a lot more sense on the other side. So, what he asks you now might seem weird, might be supernatural, might be, you might see spiritual things happening that you just couldn't imagine are real. And that's okay. That is what he's all about. He wants to win you over, just like Peter, James, John, Andrew, all of his disciples. He is in your life just as much, and he's just as accessible, and he'll do the very same things for you that he did for them, because he loves you just the same. And just take that as a cornerstone of faith to build your life upon. You are loved and desired as much as any other person in human history, and he wants for you the same he wants for, Barack Obama, for Axl Rose, for all of those, everybody in the world. He loves us all, and he wants us all. So go do your part. Go find him some more friends, and just keep on believing that he is the answer to all of your problems.